My name is Dr. Elena Voss. I'm a marine archaeologist for the Thalassa Institute.
That's the official title anyway. What I actually do is catalog things that shouldn't exist in oceans that don't want to be explored. Most days I sit in a research station that smells like salt and burnt coffee, watching sonar screens for anomalies that defy explanation. The station's perched on a rocky island somewhere in the Mediterranean, the kind of place that doesn't show up on tourist maps. We've got power when the generator cooperates, decent coffee when the supply boat remembers us, and a view of endless blue that would be peaceful if I didn't know what lived beneath it. I'm not supposed to be here. Got blacklisted from every major university after I published findings about an impossible deep-sea specimen. No evidence survived the retrieval. Just my word against the scientific establishment. They called it career suicide. I call it bad luck. The Institute gave me an alternative. They needed someone willing to dive into red zones, places marked off limits on naval charts. Someone desperate enough not to ask too many questions about why a research organization operates like an intelligence agency. So here I am, traded academic reputation for a second chance. And the truth is, I'd do it again, because what they told me during recruitment was simple. Monsters are real, Dr. Voss, and someone has to study them. The station is small, main lab with monitoring equipment, crew quarters with bunk beds, equipment room that smells like neoprene and metal, 6 permanent staff, another dozen rotating researchers who think they're studying normal oceanography. They document fish migrations and water temperatures. Standard research. The rest of us know better. Captain Andros runs dive operations. Late 50s, former Navy, walks with a limp from an accident he doesn't discuss. First day I met him, he poured me coffee and said 2 things. The pot's always full, and I don't tolerate panic. I respected that. He's been with the Institute for 20 years, longer than anyone. He knows all the protocols, including the ones they don't write down anymore. He's lost people. You can see it in the way he triple checks equipment, the way he goes quiet before deep dives. Dr. Maya Chen handles our tech systems. Drones, sensors, communications. Mid-20s, brilliant with electronics, uses humor to cut tension. She's been here 6 months, still thinks some of our sensor readings are equipment malfunctions. Jonas Ruiz manages equipment. 40-something methodical, doesn't trust anything digital. He reads printed manuals and handwrites maintenance logs. Says paper doesn't crash.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. My first week I spent mostly watching monitors, learning patterns. The Mediterranean floor is active. Volcanic vents, tectonic movement, deep trenches that drop into darkness. Our sensors track it all, but some readings don't match known geology. Structures where there shouldn't be structures. Thermal signatures that suggest artificial heat sources. And sounds, acoustic data that Maya keeps insisting must be whale songs, except the patterns are too complex, too mathematical. You'll get used to the weird stuff, she told me on day 3, watching me stare at a sonar anomaly. What if I don't want to get used to it? She laughed. Then you're in the right place. None of us are used to it. We just pretend better. On day 5, Andros brought me into his office. Small room. Walls covered in depth charts marked with colored pins. Red pins clustered in certain zones. He didn't explain what they meant. He handed me a leather-bound journal. Water-stained. held together with a rubber band. This is the depth log. Every diver who's worked this station has contributed. Now it's yours. I opened it carefully. Pages filled with handwriting, dozens of different styles, sketches of creatures, maps, cryptic warnings.
Entry 089. Lost visual contact with Marcus at 450 meters. Found his gear. No body.
Entry 143. Inscriptions glowing. No logical explanation. Something watching. Entry 227. Do not approach singing at 400 meters. It's not what you think. My hands were shaking when I closed it. How many people have died doing this work? Enough. Andros took the log back, placed it on the shelf. But more would die if we didn't do it. The ocean hides things, Elena. Old things, dangerous things. Our job is to find them, document them, and make sure they stay hidden from people who aren't ready. And if I'm not ready, then you learn fast, because tomorrow you dive. That night I couldn't sleep. I went to the lab, pulled up our database, searched for classified files about previous incidents. Most were above my clearance level, but fragments existed. A research team in the Pacific, 5 years ago, found underwater structures at 600 meters. Attempted contact with unknown entities. 3 dead. Site quarantined. Another incident in the Atlantic. Volcanic vent system with artificial modifications. Team reported hearing voices. 2 disappeared. Investigation closed. Pattern after pattern. Discovery, contact. Tragedy, cover-up. Can't sleep? Jonas was in the doorway holding 2 mugs. He handed me one. Terrible coffee, but I drank it anyway. Reading the greatest hits? He nodded at my screen. Trying to understand what I signed up for. You signed up to be the person who stands between normal people and things they can't handle. Sometimes that means diving into dark water. Sometimes it means keeping secrets. He sipped his coffee. And sometimes it means coming back with stories nobody will believe. Does it get easier? No. But you get better at carrying it. He left me alone with the files and the coffee. I added my first entry to the depth log that night. Entry 318, Dr. Sfass, Elena Voss, Day 5. Haven't dived yet, but already understand this job isn't about discovery. It's about witness, about seeing what's hidden and deciding whether the world should know. Tomorrow I go down for the first time. Whatever I find, I'll document it honestly. Someone has to. Morning came gray and cold. I suited up in the equipment room, hands clumsy on unfamiliar clasps. Jonas helped with final checks. 300 meters, Andros said, reviewing the dive plan. Just observation. Sector 7 Delta. We've been getting strange acoustic readings, one eye's on. What kind of strange? The kind that sounds like music. We loaded into the submarine. Small 2-person vessel, tight quarters.
Andros piloted. I watched through the viewport as the crane lifted us, swung us over water.
We dropped. The ocean swallowed us immediately. Light fading from blue to deep indigo to black. The descent took 20 minutes. My first time going this deep. The pressure gauge climbed. The darkness pressed in. 300 meters, Andros announced. Welcome to the deep. He engaged the lights, and I saw them. Columns. Rising from the seafloor like ancient fingers. Too regular to be natural, too deliberate to be accident. Architecture submerged. Impossible. Are you seeing this? I whispered. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Then, from the darkness beyond our lights, I heard it. Singing. The singing stopped as suddenly as it started. We hovered at 300 meters, lights cutting pale cones through black water. The column stood silent below us, ancient, waiting. "What was that?" I asked. Andros adjusted our position, backing away slowly. "That's the question we've been asking for 3 months. Acoustic phenomena, non-biological source. Command thinks it's geological, pressure cavities, water movement. But I've been diving 30 years. Rock doesn't sing in harmony. Should we investigate? Not today. Today you learn the basics." He piloted us away from the structures following a pre-plotted course. "We're here for a different reason. You need to tag your first anomaly before you earn access to the interesting stuff." 20 minutes later, we found it. A creature drifting through the water column like a ghost. Maybe 10 feet long, translucent body catching our lights and refracting them into pale rainbows. But the structure was wrong. Skeleton on the outside, ribs curving outward like a cage. Inside, organs pulsed with dim bioluminescence. "Benthic drifter," Andros said. "Category A, passive, harmless unless you spook it. Your job is to get close enough to attach a tracker. Think you can do that?" My mouth was dry. "Yes." "Good, I'll position us. You operate the arm." He brought us within 15 feet. I took control of the submarine's manipulator arm, articulated metal limb ending in a gripper. The tracker was already loaded, magnetic clamp that would attach to the creature's external ribs. I extended the arm slowly. The drifter didn't react, just kept moving with the current. Its eyes, if they were eyes, glowed faint blue. Too many of them. Arranged in a pattern that hurt to look at directly. "Steady," Andros murmured. "Don't rush it." The arm reached the creature. I positioned the tracker against a rib, activated the clamp. It locked with a soft click I felt through the controls rather than heard. The drifter spasmed, jerked away. For a moment I thought I'd heard it. Then it settled, adjusted to the new weight, and continued drifting. "Clean tag," Andros said. "Well done. First one's always the hardest." He logged the coordinates, transmitted data to base. The creature disappeared into darkness, carrying our tracker deeper. "What is it really?" I asked. "You called it a remnant." Andros was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You know how evolution works. Species adapt to environment over millions of years. But sometimes adaptation happens too fast. Like something pushed it, forced it. Genetic engineering? Maybe. Or exposure to something we don't understand. These creatures, the ones we catalog down here, they're not natural. But they're not entirely artificial either. There's something in between." He turned the sub, heading back toward the columns. "The Institute's been studying them for decades, trying to figure out where they came from, what made them. And the more we learn, the less sense it makes." We passed the columns again. I counted 8 visible from our position. Massive things, maybe 30 feet tall, covered in marine growth, but still clearly carved. Deliberate architecture. "Who built those?" I asked. "That's the real question." Andros brought us closer than before. Our lights swept across ancient stone. Every culture has flood myths: Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu. Lost civilizations, swallowed by rising seas. Most archaeologists think they're just stories. But what if some of them are memory? What if people really did build cities that the ocean took? These columns are evidence of that. These columns are evidence of something. Whether it's Atlantis specifically or just proof that humans went deeper than history remembers, that's what we're trying to figure out. He checked his instruments. We've got 20 minutes before mandatory ascent. Let's use it. He handed me something from the storage compartment. The leather journal, the depth log. This is yours now. Everyone who dives keeps it updated. Sketches, observations, warnings, things the official reports don't capture. He opened it to a middle section. See these entries, all from different hands, different years, but all describing the same phenomena. I read quickly, pages of notes, increasingly desperate. Entry 127, SM, East Sector ruins, inscriptions warm to touch despite water temp. Entry 143, SM, return to East Sector, glyphs glowing, something watching from shadows. Entry 144, command, SM did not return from solo dive. Empty suit found at 450 meters, no body. My hands went cold. What happened to SM? Sarah Martinez, brilliant archaeologist, got too curious, went down alone against protocol. Andros turned pages to a different section. Here. This is what you need to see. A page titled simply, Rules. Below it, a list in different handwriting. Accumulated wisdom from multiple divers. 1. Never dive alone below 400 meter. 2. If equipment malfunctions near structures, surface immediately. 3. Do not follow singing. It is not what you think. 4. Avoid structure clusters near Trench 7, high anomaly concentration. 5. If you see doors underwater, they're not doors. 6. Sharp pressure drops. Predator nearby. Ascend. 7. The bells mean run. Bells? I asked. No one knows what causes it. Deep resonance sounds like church bells underwater. Only happened twice in recorded history. Both times, the divers who heard it barely made it back. He pointed to the last rule. If you hear it, you don't investigate. You don't document. You surface as fast as safely possible. I flipped forward, found a section with a simple heading, Atlantis. The page was mostly blank, just one line in faded ink. If you hear bells, surface immediately. That's all we have, I asked. That's all the survivors wrote. Andros took the log back, stowed it. The structures you saw today, the columns, the foundations, they're the outer edge. There's more deeper down, much more, a whole complex, maybe a city. But it's in the deep zone past 1,000 meters, and the acoustic phenomena is strongest there. The singing, among other things. He started our ascent. You're not cleared for deep zone yet. Need a dozen shallow dives first. Learn the equipment, learn the protocols, learn how to handle pressure, both literal and psychological. How long before I'm cleared? Depends on you. Fast learners get cleared in a month. Slow learners, he didn't finish. Don't get cleared at all. Don't survive the screening. He said it matter-of-factly. This work kills people, Elena. Good people, smart people, people who follow every protocol and still end up as entries in that log. I need to know you can handle it before I take you deeper. We climbed through the water column. The darkness lightened gradually, deep black to midnight blue to twilight indigo. At 200 meters, I could see the surface far above, a shimmering boundary between worlds. Why do you do it? I asked. If it's this dangerous, if people die, why keep diving? Andros was silent until we reached 100 meters. Then, because someone has to. Because if we don't catalog these things, study them, understand them, someone else will. Treasure hunters, military, corporations looking for exploitable resources, and they won't have the training, won't respect what's down there. They'll wake things that should stay sleeping. What kind of things? The kind that built cities 1,000 meters underwater. The kind that sang to us today. He looked at me. The kind that might still be alive. We surfaced into afternoon sun. The crane lifted us back to the dock. Jonas was waiting with thermal blankets and terrible coffee. How was it? He asked. Tagged a drifter, I said, saw ancient structures, heard something singing. So standard Tuesday. He handed me coffee. Andros, Commander Reeves wants to see you. Something about anomaly patterns. Andros nodded, headed inside. I stood on the dock, still shaking from adrenaline and cold and the weight of what I'd seen. Maya appeared. First deep dive, how do you feel? Like I need to go back down, she laughed. Yeah, that's the addiction. Welcome to the Institute. She glanced at the water. You saw the columns and heard the singing. Her smile faded. Then you know. This isn't just marine biology research. This is something else. What do you think it is? Honestly, I think we found proof that we're not the first. Not the first civilization, maybe not even the first version of humanity. She shrugged. But that's above my pay grade. I just keep the sensors working and try not to think too hard about what they're detecting. That night I sat alone in the lab, pulled up the depth log, found the blank pages in the Atlantis section, picked up a pen. Entry 3118, Dr. E. Voss, Sector 7 Delta, 300 meters, first dive complete. Tagged benthic drifter successfully. Observed columnar structures, definitely artificial. Heard acoustic phenomena, singing. Non-biological source confirmed. Personal note, Andros says there's more deeper down. A city maybe, still inhabited possibly. Tomorrow I start shallow dive training. 10 more dives before deep zone clearance. I can wait. But whatever's down there, whatever built those columns, whatever's singing, it's been waiting much longer. I wonder if it knows we're coming. EV. I closed the log. Outside, the ocean was black under starless sky, and somewhere beneath those dark waters, 300 meters down, ancient stones stood in the current, waiting, always waiting. I spent the next 3 days studying the depth log like scripture. Between shallow training dives, equipment checks, emergency ascent drills, pressure adaptation, I sat in the lab with the journal open, absorbing decades of accumulated knowledge. Each entry was a lesson, each sketch a warning. The taxonomy had evolved organically. Different divers using different terms until Andros standardized it 5 years ago. Now every anomaly got classified before it got named. Category A, passive drifters. These were the easiest. Creatures that moved through the water column without obvious purpose. No territorial behavior, no hunting patterns, just existing. The benthic drifter I'd tagged was textbook category A, but there were stranger ones. Entry 089, lantern swarms, 400 to 600 millimeters depth, appear during new moon phases. Bioluminescent, coordinated movement, form patterns, geometric shapes, spirals, grids, beautiful but dangerous. EM interference disrupts all electronics within 50 photic radius. Lost 2 drones to swarm last month. Do not approach. Document from distance only. RK. I found sketches. Hundreds of small creatures, each glowing like a star, moving in perfect synchronization. The drawings showed them forming constellations, circles, mathematical symbols. "They're communicating," someone had written in the margin. But with what? Category B, territorial guardians. These were trickier. Creatures bound to specific locations, ruins mostly, or geological features, vents, trenches, canyon walls. They didn't hunt actively, but would attack if you enter their space. Entry 156, stone eels, Sector 4 ruins, 8 to 12 meters long, skin calcified like living coral. Live inside collapsed structures, mostly dormant, but proximity triggers aggressive response. Lost visual on Torres when he entered temple entrance. Found his suit 3 days later, empty. Rule, stay minimum 20 hours from eel territories. They're faster than they look. MC. The sketch showed something nightmarish. Serpentine body thick as a tree trunk, covered in barnacles and coral growth. Eyes like black pearls. Mouth full of crystalline teeth. Maya found me staring at that page. "You look disturbed." "This thing is real?" "Very real. We've got 3 documented nests in our sector. Andros makes us plot them on every dive map." She sat down, bringing coffee. "Stone eels are actually one of the safer ones. Predictable. Stay out of their territory. They ignore you completely. And if you don't stay out, then you become part of the structure they're guarding." Torres thought he could sneak past. He was wrong. She flipped pages. "Here. This is the one that gives me nightmares." Category C, active hunters. Entry 2 wove on sirens first contact at 520 meter cone do not respond to human voices underwater. These entities mimic speech with perfect accuracy. Sound like your team. Sound like people calling for help. It's a lure. They're hunters. Protocol update. All deep dives now use bone conduction comms only. 0 verbal communication. If you hear your name called and your team is on bone conduction, surface immediately. 3 missing divers. All heard voices. Command. The sketch showed something vaguely humanoid, too thin, arms too long, face almost human but stretched, mouth opening too wide. Notes in the margins. Intelligent, learns names from monitoring comms, hunts in packs, kills by drowning, holds you down until your air runs out. "Jesus," I whispered. "Yeah." Maya's voice was tight. "I heard one once. Early dive before I understood the rules. That sounded exactly like my sister. Called my name, said she needed help. I almost answered before Andros cut my comms." "What happened?" "We surfaced. He played back the recording. My sister was calling from 50 meters down in open water with no equipment. Physically impossible. But my brain wanted to believe it so badly that I almost died trying to help something that wanted to eat me." She finished her coffee. "That's when I learned. Your instincts are wrong down there. Everything that feels safe is dangerous. Everything that seems human is not." I turned pages. Found the final category. Category X. Atlantean remnants, only 3 entries. Spread across 40 years. Entry 67, 1986. Depth 890 main. Sector unknown. Encountered humanoid entity near structure complex. Height 2 bipedal. 6 digits per hand. Wore fabricated materials. Made eye contact. Did not attack. Observed us for approximately 4 minutes before retreating into ruins. Intelligence confirmed. Do not engage. Dr. Helena Krauss. Entry 198, 2003. Depth 1100 meters, Pacific Sector. Entity approached research vessel. Non-hostile. Attempted communication via acoustic signaling. Team attempted response. 3 fatalities during subsequent dive. Cause unknown. Survivors reported telepathic pressure and overwhelming emotion. Site quarantined. Cat 4. Entry 287, 2019. Depth 6054, Mediterranean. Brief visual contact. Entity observed from distance. Carrying objects. Building something. Could not determine purpose. Fled when approached. No aggression, possibly sentient, possibly human-derived. Requires further study but authorization denied pending safety review. Dr. M. Costa. Maria Costa. The woman who died trying to make contact. These are what we're really looking for, aren't they? I asked Maya. Not the drifters or the eels, these. Andros thinks so. The Institute officially classifies them as Category X, unknown threat level. But between you and me, I think they're scared. Not of the entities being dangerous, but of what it means if they're intelligent, if they're related to us. Why would that scare them? Because then we're not studying animals, we're studying people, and people have rights. People can't be contained or classified or quietly eliminated when they become inconvenient. She stood. Come on. I'm supposed to teach you the unofficial rules, the ones they don't put in training manuals. We moved to the equipment room. Empty this time of day. Maya pulled out a laminated card, worn from handling. Rule 1. Never dive alone below 500 meters. I don't care how experienced you are. Below 500, weird shit happens. Nitrogen narcosis, hallucinations, equipment failures. You need a partner to reality check you. Makes sense. Rule 2. If your depth gauge reads triple digits, especially 888 or 777, it's malfunctioning. Those numbers don't come up randomly. It means EM interference. Something nearby is disrupting electronics. Surface immediately. Why those numbers specifically? No idea. But every diver who's ignored the 888 reading has either died or surfaced with gaps in memory and malfunctioning equipment. She pointed to the next rule. Rule 3. Structures with blue bioluminescence are ancient, Atlantean probably. Do not enter, do not touch. Don't even shine your lights on them too long. They seem to respond. Respond how? The light intensifies, sometimes the singing starts. Once the structure moved, just shifted position slightly. But it's been sitting there for 3,000 years. It shouldn't move at all. She flipped the card. Rule 4 is the weird one. If you see a door underwater, it's not a door. What does that mean? Exactly what it says. You'll see doorways in the ruins, stone archways, entrance passages. They look inviting. Your brain will want to explore. Don't. They're not spatial gateways, they're something else. Sensory traps, maybe, cognitive hazards. People who go through them come back different. If they come back at all. Different how? Maya's expression darkened. Torres, before the stone eel got him, he went through a doorway, came back acting strange, couldn't remember simple things, kept talking about the other side. Said time worked differently there. Said he'd been gone for years, even though we tracked him for 20 minutes. 2 weeks later, he made the mistake with the eel. Andros thinks the doorway broke something in his head. Made him reckless. My skin crawled. Anything else? Yeah. The most important one. She met my eyes. If you're down there and you feel sudden emotion that isn't yours, overwhelming sadness, inexplicable fear, alien joy, you're being touched telepathically. It means an Atlantean is nearby and aware of you. Do not try to communicate back. Do not project thoughts or emotions. Just acknowledge it mentally and retreat. Slowly. They seem to respect boundaries if you show you understand. How do you know this? Because Costa figured it out. She documented everything before she died. The emotional contact, the attempts at communication. The Institute classified most of it, but Andros kept copies. Maya lowered her voice. She died because she tried to answer, tried to project back, and something in the exchange broke her psychologically. She walked into the ocean 3 days later. Never came back up. We stood in silence. "Why are you telling me all this?" I finally asked. "Because you're good. You ask the right questions, you see patterns, and that makes you dangerous to yourself. People like you push boundaries, try to understand what should stay mysterious. So I'm warning you now. The ocean doesn't want to be understood. Atlantis doesn't want to be found. And the things living down there don't want contact. They want to be left alone." She headed for the door. "Your next dive is tomorrow. 400 meters, cataloging mission, follow Andros's lead, follow the rules. And maybe you'll survive long enough to become half as paranoid as the rest of us." That evening, news came through official channels. A yacht had disappeared 40 kilometers from our position. Greek registry, 3 passengers. Last radio contact 12 hours ago. The Institute was sending a recovery team. I watched from the dock as a black helicopter arrived. 6 people in tactical gear. No insignias. No identification. They spoke briefly with Andros, loaded equipment into a high-speed boat, and disappeared toward the last known coordinates. They returned at dawn. I saw them unload body bags, 3 of them. Jonas was on the dock. He came back pale. "What happened?" I asked. "Coroner will say drowning, equipment failure, tragic accident." He lit a cigarette with shaking hands. "But I saw them before they bagged the bodies. They were drained, every fluid, like someone sucked them dry and put the empty husks back in their yacht. Sirens? Or worse?" He took a long drag. "Whatever's out there, it's getting bolder, coming into shallower water. The structures you saw, that's the boundary, the edge of their territory. But boundaries shift, and lately they've been shifting toward us." I looked at the dark water. Somewhere out there, things were moving, hunting, evolving, and we were preparing to swim down into their world. I opened the depth log, added my entry. Entry 320, EVOS, Day 4, study day, learned the taxonomy, learned the rules, learned that every diver who came before me died learning something new. Tomorrow, 400 mix dive, deeper than I've been, closer to whatever's singing. I'm terrified, but I'm also ready, because someone has to be the next person to learn, the next person to document, the next name in this log. I just hope I get to write more than one entry. Evie. Outside my window, the ocean whispered against the rocks, and from somewhere deep below, too faint to hear but impossible to ignore, the singing continued, always singing, calling us down. The call came at 04:30 a.m. Commander Reeves's voice over the intercom, clipped and urgent. "All senior dive staff to the lab immediately." I stumbled from my bunk, still half asleep. The lab was already crowded. Andros, Maya, Jonas, Kira. Reeves stood at the main display, face illuminated by sonar data. At 02 act, our deep sensors detected a structural anomaly. Sector 7 Delta, depth 950 meters. She pulled up the imaging. This. The screen showed something impossible. A sonar shadow too large, too regular. Geometric patterns extending across hundreds of meters of seafloor. "Could be volcanic formation," Jonas suggested without conviction. "It's not volcanic. Reeves zoomed in. The regularity is too precise. The angle's too deliberate. This is architecture, and it's big. Maya pulled up thermal overlays. Getting heat signatures, multiple points, clustered in the center. Could be geothermal vents, but the distribution pattern is artificial? Andros finished. His voice was quiet, controlled. That's city grid layout, central plaza, radiating streets. This isn't a structure, it's a settlement. The room went silent. We need eyes on, Reeves said. Full documentation. Andros, you lead. Take Voss and Chen. Jonas preps the deep sub. I want you in the water by Oro 7 Suar. 950 meters is past standard safety depth, Kira pointed out. That's trimix range, saturation protocol. We're authorized for emergency deep penetration. This qualifies. Reeves looked at each of us. Gear up. This is why we're here. 3 hours later, we were sealed in the deep submarine. Larger than the shallow water vessels, reinforced hull, panoramic viewports. 3 seats, life support for 8 hours, emergency ascent capability. Andros piloted. Maya handled sensors and documentation. I ran communications and environmental monitoring. The crane lifted us. We swung over water now, gray with dawn light, then dropped. Beginning descent, Andros reported. Estimate 40 minutes to target depth. The first 100 meters were familiar. Blue water, scattered fish, drifting plankton caught in our lights. Then the light began to fail. Passing 200, the blue darkened to indigo. Temperature gauge dropped. 18 degrees, 16, 14, 300. Twilight now. Our lights were the only illumination. The water took on that thick quality, like we were sinking through ink. 400. Maya's sensors flickered. Getting interference. EM signature spiking. Stay on course, Andros said. 500. Darkness complete. The viewport showed nothing but black pressing against glass. Depth pressure made the hull creak softly, a sound like bones settling. 600. My ears popped despite the pressurization. Radio comms started crackling with static. 700. We were deeper than I'd ever been, deeper than most humans ever go. The pressure gauge read numbers that would crush an unprotected body instantly. 800. Maya's screen went dark, then flickered back. Losing sensor resolution. Something's interfering with the haze, Andros said. Through the viewport, I saw it, a layer of suspended sediment, thick as fog, stretching in all directions. The lights couldn't penetrate. We were flying blind. 850. Entering the haze, the sub was swallowed. Visibility dropped to 0. Our lights reflected back, turning the water opaque white. Sediment scraped against the hull like fingernails. I can't see anything, Maya said, voice tight. Trust the instruments. Andros kept his eyes on the depth gauge, the compass, the sonar. This layer is natural. Mineral deposits suspended by thermal currents. We just have to push through. But it felt wrong. The haze pressed against the viewports like it was alive, like it was trying to get in. My head swam, vertigo, disorientation, up and down lost meaning. 900 meters. I see something, I whispered. What? Andros asked. Shapes. In the haze. Moving. That's the sediment, your brain finding patterns in chaos. But I knew what I saw. Figures drifting past, tall and thin, watching us descend. 940. Then, suddenly we broke through. The haze ended as abruptly as it began. Clear water below, and beneath us, Mother of God, Maya breathed. A city. spread across the seafloor like a fever dream. Domes and spires and plazas, all overgrown with bioluminescent coral that pulsed with soft blue-green light. Buildings half collapsed but still recognizable. Streets visible between structures, paved with stones, fitted so precisely the seams were barely visible even after millennia. The scale was staggering. We could see maybe 200 meters in any direction, and the ruins extended beyond that. Hundreds of structures, maybe thousands. 950 were here. Andros brought us to hover. Elena, start documentation. Maya, full sensor sweep. I'm taking us in slow. My hands shook as I activated the cameras. Every angle captured impossibilities. Architecture that defied understanding. Domes that curved in ways that shouldn't hold structural integrity. Spires that stood despite having no visible foundation. Arches that seemed to float connected to nothing. This doesn't match any known Mediterranean culture, I said, photographing frantically. The proportions are wrong. The engineering is wrong. This is advanced, Andros finished. Pre-Bronze Age dating based on marine growth, but construction techniques that wouldn't exist for another 2,000 years. We drifted between collapsed columns. Each one was carved with symbols, spirals, geometric patterns, script that resembled no alphabet I'd ever seen. Getting massive EM interference, Maya reported. Whatever these structures are made of, they're conductive. Or generating their own field? My sensors can't... Her screen went black. Damn, lost video feed. Switch to backup, Andros said. Trying, it's not responding. I leaned closer to my viewport. One structure in particular drew my attention. A plaza, relatively intact. At its center, a statue. Humanoid form, maybe 10 feet tall, carved from dark stone that marine growth couldn't seem to colonize. I'm seeing something, I said. 2 o'clock, about 50 meters. Andros adjusted our position, brought us closer. The statue resolved in our lights. The proportions were almost human, almost. Limbs slightly too long, torso slightly too narrow, and the hands, 7 fingers, I counted. Each hand has 7 fingers. Not human, Maya whispered, but close. The face was serene, eyes closed, mouth slightly open as if mid-song. Beautiful and alien simultaneously. This is who they were, Andros said quietly, before the adaptation, before they became what's down here now. My radio crackled. For a moment I thought I heard singing. Did you hear that? I asked. Hear what? Maya. The singing, I pressed my headset tighter. Psst, there. Faint but unmistakable. Multiple voices harmonizing. Wordless but emotional. Beautiful. I hear it, Andros confirmed. It's coming from deeper in the complex. Elena, stay focused. Don't. But I was already studying the route. The singing came from a passage between 2 intact buildings. A street, maybe, leading toward what looked like a larger central structure. We should investigate, I said, negative. We document from here, then surface. Unknown acoustic phenomena in an unstable environment. It's not unstable. Hey, look, I pointed. Those buildings have stood for thousands of years, and the singing, it's deliberate. Someone's down there. Something, Andros corrected. My radio cut out, then came back filled with static and underneath, singing louder now, closer. Comms are failing, Maya said. We need to abort. But Andros was staring at his instruments. Depth gauge just jumped to 888. We all looked. The digital display flickered. 950 matter? Then 888, then 950 again. EM interference, Andros said. Something's active, something close. There, I pointed, movement between the buildings, a shadow passing through our light cone, too large to be fish, too deliberately moving to be current. Did you see? Another movement closer this time. Bipedal form, tall, gliding through the water with unnatural grace. Contact, Andros said, voice tight. Unknown entity were pulling back. But my radio was nothing but singing now, filling my helmet, filling my head. So beautiful it hurt. Elena, Maya's voice distant, your vitals are spiking. You need to... I don't remember unstrapping. Don't remember thinking it was a good idea. But suddenly I was at the sub's airlock, my hand on the emergency release. Elena, no! Too late. I opened it. The pressure equalization was instant and brutal. Water flooded the chamber. My suit's systems compensated, but barely. Then I was swimming, pushing through the airlock, into open water, into the ruins. The singing surrounded me, no direction, everywhere and nowhere. I followed it anyway, kicking toward the plaza with the statue. Behind me, Andros's voice on the comms. Back immediately, dangerous. But I couldn't stop. The singing pulled me like gravity. I reached the plaza. The statue loomed above, and close now, I saw its eyes weren't closed. They were open, watching me. The stone moved. No, impossible. Stone doesn't move. But the eyes tracked, following me as I circled. Then, pressure. A wave of force that hit me from all sides, knocking me back, tumbling through water. My regulator tore free. Water rushed into my mouth. I grabbed the regulator, forced it back in, cleared the water. Breathing hard. When I looked up, something was there. Between the buildings, watching. Bipedal, 8 feet tall, maybe taller. Wearing something fabric or seaweed or biological growth shaped into tattered robes. Arms too long. Fingers, I counted as it raised one hand. 6 digits. Not 7 like the statue. 6. Evolution, I thought. They lost a finger over the generations. Its face, if it was a face, tilted toward me. Eyes enormous and black, skin pale, almost translucent. I could see the bones underneath, the strange skull structure, the hinged jaw that wasn't quite human. We stared at each other. 3 seconds, 5, an eternity. It opened its mouth. The singing intensified. Coming from it, from inside it. Language, I realized. This was language, communication. It was trying to... Then it moved, turned, and vanished between the buildings with shocking speed. Elena! Andros's voice finally penetrated. I spun. The sub was 20 meters away, airlock open, Andros half out in his suit, reaching for me. I swam. Fast as I could, every instinct screaming danger. Shadows moved at the edges of my vision, more of them. Dozens, maybe, circling, watching. I reached the airlock. Andros grabbed me, hauled me inside. Sealed the door. Pressure equalized. I collapsed, breathing hard. What the hell were you thinking? He shouted. You could have... I saw one, I gasped. Talk to me. It was trying to... We're leaving. Andros cut me off. Maya, full ascent. Emergency protocol. But now... The sub began rising. Fast, faster than safe. Through the viewport, I watched the ruins fall away. And in every doorway, every window, every shadow between buildings, figures, dozens of them, all watching us leave, all singing. They're following, Maya whispered. She was right. Shapes pacing us a distance, keeping formation, escorting us away. 800 meters, Andros called. 750. The entities stopped at the edge of the haze. We watched them through the rear camera, hovering, making no move to pursue further. 600. The singing faded. 500. Gone completely now, but I felt it, a presence in my mind, like someone had touched my thoughts and left a fingerprint behind. 400. Maya was crying. Did that really happen? Did we really see? Yes, I said. We saw them. They're real. They're alive. And they know we're here. We surfaced into morning sun. The contrast was shocking. The normal world, seabirds, waves, the station on its lonely island. Nothing to suggest what lay below. Jonas met us at the dock. One look at our faces and he knew. You found it. We found it, Andros confirmed. Atlantis, and it's not abandoned. That night I couldn't write in the depth log, couldn't find words, just sat staring at blank pages. Finally I wrote, Entry 321, one EVOS, just 950 meters. We found them, city intact, inhabited, they're real. Everything is real. I made contact, broke protocol, nearly died. But I saw one, face to face. It tried to communicate. I think it wanted me to understand. Tomorrow we report to command. Tomorrow everything changes. Tonight I can still pretend I'm just a researcher who saw something interesting, but I know the truth. We're not studying ruins. We're studying a living civilization. And they've been waiting for us. EV. Outside my window, the ocean was black, and somewhere in that darkness, 950 meters down, they were singing, waiting for us to return. The debriefing room smelled like burnt coffee and fear. I'd been in this room dozens of times. Standard post-dive protocols, fill out forms, review footage, file reports, routine. This wasn't routine. The emergency lights were on, red strips along the baseboards that only activated for code yellow situations or higher. Maya sat across from me, hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. Her face was still pale from the encounter. Andros stood by the door, arms crossed, expression unreadable. We'd been waiting 20 minutes. Nobody told us why. Should someone check on Jonas? Maya asked quietly. Make sure medical cleared him? He's fine, Andros said, bruised, scared, but fine. We all saw it, right? Maya's voice cracked slightly. That thing in the plaza, I didn't imagine. You didn't imagine it. I opened my depth log, showed her my sketch. The humanoid figure, 7 fingers, eyes that tracked movement. She stared at the drawing, swallowed hard. What are they? Before I could answer, not that I had an answer, the door opened. Captain Andros straightened. I'd never seen him do that before. The woman who entered looked like she'd stepped out of a different era. 60-something gray hair pulled back severe, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my yearly salary. But it was her eyes that caught me. Dark, sharp. The kind of eyes that had seen things and decided what to do about them. Behind her, 2 Institute security personnel I didn't recognize. Dr. Voss, Miss Chen. Her voice carried authority without being loud. I'm Director Castellanos. I run the Thalassa Institute. Maya and I exchanged glances. In 3 months working here, I'd never seen the director. Heard about her, sure. But she operated from the main facility in Geneva, dealt with funding, international coordination, high-level policy. She didn't fly out to remote research stations unless something was very wrong. Castellanos took the seat at the head of the table. Didn't bother with pleasantries. Tell me exactly what you saw at depth marker 950. So we did. I walked her through the descent, the architectural anomalies, the ruins that shouldn't exist. Maya described the camera malfunctions, the way equipment responded near certain structures. Andros filled in technical details, coordinates, depth readings, structural integrity assessments. When I got to the part about the figure in the plaza, Castellanos' expression didn't change. She just nodded, like I'd confirmed something she already knew. "You made eye contact," she said, not a question. "Yes." "For approximately how long?" 3 seconds, maybe 4. "And it vanished when I blinked." My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the table. "Director, what are we dealing with down there?" Castellanos was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Andros. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "Captain," she said, "seal the room." Andros moved to the door. I heard the magnetic locks engage. The security personnel took positions outside. My pulse quickened. Castellanos folded her hands on the table. "What I'm about to tell you is classified level 5. That means if you discuss this with anyone outside this room, anyone, your employment with the Institute terminates immediately, as does your freedom to leave Institute facilities." She let that sink in. "Do you understand?" "Yes," Maya and I said in unison. "Good." Castellanos pulled out a tablet, swiped through files. The Thalassa Institute was founded in 1962, officially to study deep-sea environments and catalog marine anomalies. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. She turned the tablet toward us, showed an old black-and-white photograph. A submarine, older model, Cold War era. And behind it, barely visible in the murky water, structures, ruins. The same ruins we just explored. "We've known about Atlantis for 63 years, Castellanos said simply. The room tilted slightly. Or maybe that was just me. "The Soviet Union found it first, actually, 1961. Pure accident, a submarine got off course. Equipment malfunctioned near what they thought was an undersea volcanic formation. When they investigated, they found..." She gestured at the photo. "This." "Why didn't they tell anyone?" Maya asked. "For the same reason we didn't?" Castellanos swiped to another image. This one showed glyphs, the same patterns I'd seen on the temple walls. "Because it's not abandoned, Miss Chen, it's inhabited." Silence. "The things you saw," Castellanos continued, looking at me now. "The figure in the plaza. We call them Atlanteans. Original designation category X prime. They're not ghosts, not hallucinations. They're real. And they're in a state we don't fully understand. Something between life and death. Suspended decay." "That's not possible," I heard myself say. "Biologically, you're either..." "Biologically, they shouldn't exist at all." Castellanos' voice was sharp. "But they do? We've documented over 300 individual entities across 60 years of observation. They don't age, don't eat, don't sleep. They just persist." She pulled up more files, grainy footage from different decades, always the same, pale figures moving through ruins, watching, waiting. "For 6 decades, Castellanos said, they've been dormant, present but passive. Our protocol has always been observe, document, do not engage. And for 6 decades that worked." "What changed?" Andros asked quietly. 3 weeks ago, seismic activity in the region increased. Nothing major. 3.2 on the Richter scale, centered about 40 kilometers from the ruins. But it was enough. She showed us a structural analysis. Red warning indicators covering sections of the city. The outer dome cracked. Not catastrophically, but enough to alter the internal environment. They're waking up, I said. Yes. Castellanos met my eyes. And when they wake, Dr. Voss, they're hostile. Maya's mug clattered against the table. How hostile? Castellanos didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled up another file. Crime scene photos. I wished she hadn't. A yacht. Luxury vessel, 40-footer, drifting in our sector. And on the deck, 4 bodies. They were arranged in a perfect circle, arms outstretched toward the center, mouths open in silent screams. But it was their skin that made my stomach turn. Gray, desiccated, like something had drained every drop of fluid from their bodies. Disappeared 4 days ago, Castellanos said quietly. Found yesterday. Coast Guard assumed it was drug-related violence. We convinced them to let us handle the investigation. Jesus, Maya whispered. Autopsy showed no wounds, no toxins, no cause of death that makes medical sense. Castellanos closed the file. But we found traces of bioluminescent residue on their skin. The same compounds we've documented on Atlantean biology. The room felt smaller suddenly, colder. So what do we do? I asked. If they're waking up, if they're coming to the surface. They're not coming to the surface. Castellanos' voice was firm. We're going to stop them. That's why I'm here. She pulled up a schematic, technical drawings of some kind of device. Looked like a tuning fork crossed with a speaker array. Resonance dampeners, she explained. We developed them in the 70s after an incident. They emit a frequency that interferes with Atlantean neural patterns. Keeps them dormant. We have 3 installed around the city perimeter. But the earthquake damaged 2 of them. And without them? Maya asked. Without them, the Atlanteans will continue to wake. Their aggression will increase. And eventually Castellanos paused. Eventually they'll breach the surface. And when they do, they'll die. Their biology can't handle atmospheric pressure. But they won't die quietly. They'll take as many surface dwellers with them as they can. Why? The question came out sharper than I intended. Why would they? Because we're the enemy, Dr. Voss. Castellanos' expression was grim. From their perspective, we're the ones who forced them down there in the first place. I don't understand. Andros spoke for the first time since Castellanos arrived. Tell her the real history. Castellanos nodded slowly. Atlantis didn't sink, Dr. Voss. It descended by choice. She pulled up more files. Archaeological data, geological surveys, carbon dating that made no sense. 12,000 years ago, give or take, there was a civilization in the Mediterranean basin. Advanced. More advanced than anything that should have existed in that era. They had technology that blended what we'd call engineering with biology. They built structures that could withstand pressures we still can't replicate. They created hybrid organisms, guardians, to protect their cities. The stone eels, I realized, the bioluminescent swarms, Category A and B anomalies. But something happened, Castellanos continued. We don't know what. Some kind of cataclysm, natural or otherwise. The land became unstable, uninhabitable. So they made a choice, adapt or die. They went underwater, Maya said. They went underwater, built pressure domes, modified their own biology to survive at depth. It should have been temporary, a few generations maybe. Wait for the surface to stabilize, then return. Castellanos' voice dropped. But something went wrong. The modifications didn't stop. They kept changing, evolving, or devolving. Depends on your perspective. Their bodies adapted to the deep. But their minds, she trailed off. They deteriorated, I finished. Yes. Over centuries, they transformed into what you saw today. Conscious but not fully aware. Trapped between human intelligence and something else. And hostile to anything that reminds them of what they lost. The pieces were falling into place, the ruins overgrown but maintained, the glyphs still glowing. The figure that watched me with two intelligent eyes, they weren't monsters, they were refugees, trapped in a disaster that never ended. Why didn't you tell us? My voice was quieter now. Before we went down there, and why keep this secret? Castellanos met my gaze. Because knowing makes you a target, Dr. Voss. The Atlanteans are telepathic within a certain range. They sense intent. Curiosity attracts them. If we'd briefed you beforehand, you would have gone down there looking for them, and they would have noticed. But now they've already seen you. Now we don't have a choice. She closed her tablet. I need your team to go back down. Install 3 new resonance dampeners at specific coordinates within the city. It's the only way to keep them dormant until we can coordinate a more permanent solution. Permanent solution, Maya repeated. What does that mean? Castellanos didn't answer. Andros did. It means containment, long-term, maybe forever. The weight of that hung in the air. Captain Andros will lead the mission, Castellanos said. He's been down there 14 times. He knows the risks. I looked at Andros. Really looked at him. For the first time, I saw the exhaustion behind his stoic expression, the weight of knowledge. How many times had he made this dive? How many times had he faced those pale figures in the dark? Dive 9, I said quietly. You lost your partner on Dive 9. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. What happened? Maya asked. We installed a dampener too close to an inhabited structure, Andros said. His voice was carefully neutral. They didn't like that. Maria bought us time to escape. He stopped, started again. Whatever you saw down there, Elena, that was mercy. They can do much worse. The room was silent except for the hum of ventilation. You don't have to go, Castellanos said, looking at Maya and me. We can bring in specialists from other facilities. It'll take 3 days, but... 3 days, I interrupted. How long do we have before the dome fails completely? Castellanos hesitated. 24 hours, maybe less. Then there's no time for specialists. Maya was staring at me. Elena, I'm going back down. I surprised myself with how steady my voice was. I spent 5 years being called crazy for seeing impossible things, for reporting encounters that couldn't exist. I lost my career, my reputation. Everything. I stood up, faced Castellanos directly. Now I know I was right. I found Atlantis. I looked one of them at the eyes, and I'm not walking away from that, not now. Castellanos studied me for a long moment. Then finally she nodded. Captain Andros, assemble your team. Departure at 06 Rero. That gives you... She checked her watch. 8 hours to prep. Yes, ma'am. As the meeting broke up, as security unsealed the door, as Maya grabbed my arm and whispered, "Are you insane?" I opened my depth log. Added a new entry. Briefing, classified level 5. Atlantis, Magsteer, inhabited, Atlanteans, Nightnose category X prime. Mission: install dampeners. Keep them dormant. Keep them contained. But I keep thinking about that figure in the plaza, the way it looked at me. Not with hunger, not with rage, with recognition. What if we're not the ones who need protection? What if they do? I closed the log. Tomorrow we'd descend again, into the ruins, into the dark, into the kingdom that chose the abyss over extinction, and this time I had a feeling we wouldn't all come back. The equipment bay smelled like ozone and hydraulic fluid. 4:09 a.m., 2 hours before departure. I couldn't sleep anyway. Jonas Ruiz was already there, running diagnostics on the resonance dampeners. He looked up when I entered. Mid-40s, graying at the temples, the kind of guy who triple-checked everything. Good quality in a deep-sea equipment specialist. Dr. Voss. He nodded toward the devices laid out on the workbench. Want to see what you're risking your life to install? The dampeners looked deceptively simple. Each one resembled a large tuning fork mounted on a cylindrical base, about 2 feet tall, made from some kind of metallic alloy that seemed to shift color in the light. Silver to blue to almost purple. Titanium ceramic composite, Jonas explained, seeing my interest. Has to withstand pressure at depth and resist corrosion. The tines vibrate at 47.3 hertz when activated. Human ears can't hear it, but apparently, he gestured vaguely downward, they can. And it hurts them? Disrupts their neural patterns. Think of it like a migraine made of sound. Constant, inescapable. He paused. Honestly, Dr. Voss, I feel like shit installing these things. Yeah. I touched one of the tines gently. It was cold. Me too. The door opened. Kira Okonkwo entered carrying 2 reinforced equipment cases. Late 20s, Nigerian accent. Institute's best submersible pilot after Andros. I'd worked with her once before. Sharp, efficient, didn't waste words. Captain wants full team briefing in 10, she said, setting down the cases. Bay 3. Bay 3 was where they kept the heavy-duty subs. The one waiting for us was bigger than the research vessels I was used to. Reinforced hull, redundant systems, external manipulator arms for installing the dampeners. Andros stood beside it, checking something on a tablet. Maya was already there, looking pale but determined. Her hands were wrapped around a thermos of coffee, like it was a lifeline. When we were all assembled, Andros looked up. 3 installation points, he said without preamble. He pulled up a holographic map of the ruins. 3 red markers pulsed at different locations. Temple structure at the north perimeter, central plaza, and the deep trench at the city's southern edge. He zoomed in on each location. Jonas and Kira handled the technical installations. Elena, Maya, and I provide security and backup. We go silent protocol, bone conduction comms only, minimal lights, no unnecessary movement. What about if we encounter, Maya started. We will encounter them. Andros's voice was flat. Question is whether they attack or just watch. Don't look directly at them. Don't respond to any vocalizations. Don't break formation. He looked at each of us in turn. If someone gets separated, we do not search. You surface immediately and wait for extraction. Understood? We all nodded. Equipment check, Andros continued. Jonas? All 3 dampeners operational. Installation time approximately 4 minutes each. I'll need stable positioning and minimal water current. Kira? Subs fully charged. Reinforced viewport rated to 1,500 meters. Emergency beacons are hot. If we lose main power, backup batteries give us 6 hours. Maya? Camera array is recording to triple redundant storage. If something happens to us, she swallowed. The data survives. Elena! I held up my depth log. Documented everything we know so far. If we don't come back, it's all here. Andros nodded slowly. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out something small. Handed it to me, a compass. Old brass, worn smooth by years of handling. Engraved on the back, MK, True North. Why are you... If I don't make it back, Andros said quietly, someone should have it. Maria would want it to go to someone who understood. I closed my fingers around it. The brass was warm from his body heat. You're coming back, I said. He almost smiled. Yeah, we all are. But we both knew he was lying. Before boarding, I opened my depth log one more time. Added a quick entry. Dive 7. Second descent team. Andros, Maya, Jonas, Kira, me. Mission. Install 3 resonance dampeners. Expected duration, 4 to 6 hours. If I don't come back, check entry 42, because I'm starting to think I know what the Atlanteans really are. And if I'm right, we're making a terrible mistake. I sketched the statue from the plaza quickly, 7 fingers, eyes that tracked, the faint glow behind the pupils. Then I closed the log and climbed into the sub. The descent felt different this time, slower, more careful. Every meter deeper carried weight beyond just pressure. I was strapped into the co-pilot seat beside Kira, Andros in the rear with the dampeners. Jonas and Maya monitored equipment and external cameras. Passing 100 meters, Kira said softly. The water outside shifted from blue to deep turquoise. Light faded degree by degree. Comms check, Andros said. Bone conduction only from here. We each tapped our throat mics. The sound transmitted through bone rather than air. Impossible for anything external to intercept or mimic. Protection against the sirens, 200 meters, the twilight zone. The bioluminescent drifters appeared, floating past like ghosts, jellyfish things with bodies that pulsed rhythmic light. Category A, harmless. Usually. Today they moved differently, more agitated, swimming in circles rather than their normal lazy drift. They're disturbed, Maya whispered. 300 meters. The haze appeared ahead, that layer of suspended sediment that marked the boundary between their world and ours. Reducing speed, Kira said. Visibility dropping to 10 meters. We entered the murk, and immediately I saw them. Faces forming in the sediment, dissolving, reforming, dozens of them. Pale features coalescing from particulate matter, watching us pass, then scattering like disturbed smoke. Is that... Jonas's voice cracked. Is that normal? No, Andros said. They know we're coming. The faces tracked our movement. Some looked curious, others... I couldn't read the expression. Anger, fear, sadness. Steady, Andros ordered. Don't stop. Don't react. We pushed through. The faces multiplied. Now there were hundreds, pressed against the viewport, mouths opening and closing in silent speech. Then we broke through the bottom of the haze, and the city spread before us. It looked different. The ruins were the same, spires, domes, collapsed columns overgrown with bioluminescent coral. But the light had changed. Instead of the steady, almost peaceful glow from before, the bioluminescence pulsed. Irregular rhythms. Like breathing, like a heartbeat. The city's awake, Maya whispered. She was right. I could feel it, some kind of awareness in the way the light shifted, the way shadows moved between structures. First installation point, Andros said, north perimeter, temple structure. Kira navigated carefully between ruins. The sub's spotlight swept across ancient stone. Glyphs glowed in response, tracking our passage. The temple emerged from the darkness. It was smaller than I expected, maybe 30 feet across, half buried in sediment. But the entrance was carved to look like an open mouth, complete with teeth, stone columns shaped like fangs, an invitation or a warning, possibly both. Positioning for installation, Kira said. She brought us to hover about 20 feet from the entrance. Jonas, you're up, Andros said. Kira assists. Maya and Elena, watch the perimeter. I'll monitor internal sensors. Jonas and Kira suited up in the pressure chamber. The process took 2 minutes. Sealing helmets, checking regulators, clipping safety lines to the sub. I watched through the rear viewport as they exited. 2 tiny figures, illuminated by their suit lights, carrying the first dampener between them. They swam toward the temple entrance, disappeared inside. Comms check, Andros said. Reading you, Jonas's voice came through, distorted by water. Interior is intact, stone ceiling, more glyphs, installing dampener at central position. I turned my attention to the perimeter, swept my eyes across the ruins. Movement, something large, shifting between columns about 40 meters out. Contact, I said quietly. 10 o'clock. In the ruins. I see it, Andros confirmed. Looks like Category B, stone eel maybe? Installation at 50%, Jonas reported. Need another 2 minutes. The movement stopped. Whatever it was had noticed us. Then I saw the glyphs. On the wall beside the temple, a sequence of them had started glowing, lighting up one after another in a pattern, not random, deliberate. I grabbed my depth log, started sketching frantically. Circle with 7 points, spiral, 3 parallel lines, circle again. The pattern repeated. Elena, what are you? Maya started. The glyphs, they're cycling like a message or a warning or... The water vibrated, not sound, pressure, something massive moving toward us. Contact, Andros snapped. Jonas, Kira, abort and return. Installation at 80%, Jonas protested. I just need... Now. Too late. It emerged from behind a collapsed dome, the stone eel, 15 feet long, maybe more, body covered in mineral deposits that looked like armor plating, head shaped wrong, too broad, jaw too wide, eyes that glowed dull red. Category B, territorial. Don't move, Andros whispered. Nobody moves. The eel swam slowly toward us, testing. Its body undulated with movements that seemed too fluid for something that looked like living rock. It circled the sub, once, twice. I held my breath. Beside me, Kira's hands were frozen on the controls. The eel's head swung toward the temple entrance, where Jonas and Kira had gone. Installation complete, Jonas's voice crackled. Activating now. No, wait, Andros started. The dampener activated. I felt it more than heard it, a vibration in my bones, a wrongness in the water. The eel convulsed. Shrieked, a sound that came through the hull like grinding metal, and the glyphs stopped glowing, all of them, instantly. Jonas, Kira, exit now, Andros commanded. They appeared in the temple entrance, Jonas first, swimming fast, too fast. The eel's head snapped around, tracked the movement. Jonas, slow down, I shouted. He didn't hear or didn't listen. Panic overrode training. The eel struck, fast, impossibly fast for something that size. Clamped onto Jonas's left leg. His scream came through comms, distorted and terrible. Deploy repellent. Andros was already moving to the controls. Kira grabbed Jonas, tried to pull him free. The eel's jaw tightened. I could see blood clouding the water, dark against his suit. Andros hit the sonic repellent. The sub's external speakers emitted a pulse, high frequency. My teeth ached even through the hull. The eel released, thrashed backward, body convulsing. Kira dragged Jonas toward the airlock. Andros helped pull them in. The eel retreated into the ruins, disappearing between structures, leaving a trail of disturbed sediment. Pressure chamber sealed, Andros reported. Jonas, status? Through the internal camera, I could see Jonas's leg. The suit was torn. Deep lacerations, but not arterial. He'd been lucky. I'm okay, Jonas gasped. I'm okay. You're out of rotation, Andros said flatly. Kira, get him patched up. Maya, take over equipment installation. Wait, Jonas started. That's an order. Maya looked at me. I saw the fear in her eyes, but she nodded. First dampener is active, Kira reported. Resonance signature steady. I looked back at the temple. The glyphs were dark now, dead. The dampener hummed its painful frequency into the water, and somewhere in the ruins I knew the Atlanteans could feel it. Jonas couldn't dive. That left 4 of us. Second installation point, Andros said. His voice was tight. Central Plaza. The place where I'd seen the figure, where it had looked at me with 2 intelligent eyes. We were going back. Kira navigated carefully. The bioluminescence had changed again. Now it pulsed faster, more erratic. The city felt angry. The plaza opened before us. Intact stone floor, cracked but recognizable. Statues along the perimeter, some fallen, some still standing, all carved with 7-fingered hands. Positioning, Kira said. Maya and Andros suited up this time. Maya's hands were shaking as she sealed her helmet. Stay close to the sub, Andros told her. Install the dampener, activate it, return immediately. No exploring, no hesitation. Got it. They exited into the water. I watched them swim toward the plaza center, where a raised platform provided the installation point. They carried the second dampener between them. And that's when I heard it. Singing. Not from a distance, not faint. Surrounding us. Coming from everywhere and nowhere. Multiple voices, harmonizing. Words in a language that predated any tongue I knew. But the emotion was clear. Mourning. Andros, do you hear? I started. Keep working, he said shortly. Through the viewport, I saw his body tense, but his hands kept moving. Setting up the dampener. Professional. The singing grew louder. Maya's camera swiveled, capturing movement in the ruins. Figures. Stepping out from behind columns. Emerging from shadows. Rising from the sediment like ghosts becoming solid. Dozens of them. Atlanteans. Tall, 7 feet, maybe 8. Pale skin that caught the light wrong, showing faint tracery of veins beneath. Bodies that moved with joints bending in extra places, making their walk seem fluid and wrong simultaneously. They wore something like robes, fabric or organic material I couldn't tell, tattered, ancient, trailing behind them like seaweed. They didn't approach, just watched. 30 of them, 40, more appearing every second. Don't look directly at them, Andros whispered. Maya, keep working. I'm trying. Maya's voice was high with panic. They're everywhere. Ignore them. Finish the installation. Through Maya's camera feed, I could see details I'd missed before. Their faces, beautiful in a terrible way. Too symmetrical, too perfect. Like something had designed them, rather than let them evolve naturally. And their eyes. Black voids, no whites, no iris. Just darkness that seemed to go deeper than eye sockets should allow. Installation at 60%, Maya reported. Her voice shook. The Atlanteans watched. Silent now. The singing had stopped. Somehow that was worse. 70%, Maya said. Almost. They're moving closer, I warned. It was true. The circle was tightening, slowly, deliberately, coming within 20 feet of Maya and Andros. Don't look at them, Andros repeated. He was securing the dampener's base. Elena, ready the airlock. I moved to the controls. Watched through the viewport as Maya connected the final power coupling. Installation complete, she said. Activating now. Wait, I started. Too late. The dampener hummed to life. And every single Atlantean screamed, not with voices, with minds. The psychic pressure wave hit like a physical blow. I felt it inside my skull, sharp, invasive, agonizing. My vision doubled. Blood ran hot from my nose. Through the viewport, I saw Maya and Andros stumble. The Atlanteans scattered, but not fleeing. Angry. Their movements changed from observational to predatory in an instant. Move! Andros shoved Maya toward the sub. They swam hard. The Atlanteans pursued, fast, so much faster than they should be. One of them, taller than the others, robes that might have been ceremonial once, reached out toward Maya. She turned, looked back. Mistake. It was right there, face inches from her helmet. I saw everything through her camera. Translucent skin, black veins pulsing, mouth opening to reveal teeth like crystal formations. Sharp, geometric, impossible. And its eyes, those void black eyes locked with Maya's. Recognition passed between them, some kind of telepathic contact. Maya screamed. The Atlantean touched her helmet with one 7-fingered hand. The glass cracked. Spiderweb pattern spreading from the point of contact. Not shattered. Not yet. But compromised. Flare! Andros swung his arm up, fired the emergency flare at point-blank range. Red light exploded underwater. The Atlantean recoiled, shrieking. That same psychic cry that made my skull throb. Andros grabbed Maya, dragged her toward the airlock. I hit the controls, flooded the chamber. They tumbled through. More Atlanteans approached the sub, surrounding us. Hands pressed against the viewport, faces staring in. Kira, go! Andros's voice was raw. She hit the throttle. The sub lurched forward. The Atlanteans didn't move. We pushed through them like swimming through bodies. Their eyes tracked us. Accusing, angry, betrayed. We accelerated away from the plaza. Behind us, the second dampener hummed its painful song. In the pressure chamber, Andros was pulling Maya's helmet off carefully. Water had leaked in, not enough to drown her, but enough to soak her face and hair. She was sobbing, gasping. It was in my head. It showed me. You're okay, Andros said firmly. You're safe. But she wasn't. I could see it in her eyes. She'd looked into the void, and the void had looked back. And now she knew what I'd known since the first encounter. They weren't monsters. They were people, trapped, suffering, aware of every moment of their existence. And we'd just installed a device that caused them constant, inescapable pain. 2 dampeners active, Kira reported. Her voice was hollow. 1 remains. I looked at the map. The 3rd installation point pulsed red. Deep trench. Southern edge of the city, 100 meters down. The heart of Atlantis. Jonas clutched his injured leg in the back. Maya was compromised, possibly in shock. The rest of us were bleeding from noses, ears, psychic damage from that scream, and we still had to go deeper. We surfaced in the pressure chamber. Maya was wrapped in a thermal blanket, still shaking. Jonas sat with his leg elevated, face gray with pain and exhaustion. Kira killed the engines. The sudden silence felt like pressure in my ears. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Andros pulled off his helmet, looked at each of us in turn. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. "We can abort," he said finally. "Call in a full team from Geneva. Specialists with fresh equipment." "How long would that take?" I asked. 3 days. Maybe 4 with weather delays. I looked at the map, still displayed on the console. The third installation point pulsed red. Deep trench. 100 meters. Beyond the safe operating depth for most equipment. Beyond the safe operating depth for most humans. "How long until the dome fails completely?" I asked. Andros reached for the radio. "Director Castellanos, this is Dive Team Alpha, requesting structural integrity update on primary containment." Static. Then her voice, tight with stress. "Stand by." More static. Too long. Finally. 24 hours, perhaps less. The microfractures are spreading faster than projected. "Copy that." Andros released the transmit button, looked at me. "You heard her." "Then we finish it." My voice was steadier than I felt. 3 days is too long. "Elena," Maya started but couldn't finish. Her eyes were haunted. Whatever she'd seen when that Atlantean touched her helmet, it had broken something inside her. "The third location is at 1,100 meters, Andros said quietly. "That's beyond safe diving depth." "The pressure alone, can the sub handle it?" "The reinforced model, no. But we have the deep exploration unit, 2-person capacity, rated to 1,500 meters. He paused. "Barely tested at those depths. Then we use that one." Kira spoke up. "Captain, I can pilot." "No." Andros's voice was firm. "You stay here as surface relay, monitor our descent, maintain comms with the Institute. If we don't surface in 6 hours, you abort and return to base." "But that's an order, Kira." She closed her mouth, nodded reluctantly. Jonas tried to stand, winced. "I can still—" "You're done, Jonas. You did good work." Andros put a hand on his shoulder. Gentle, almost paternal. "Get medical attention. That leg needs proper treatment." He turned to me. "Dr. Voss, last chance to reconsider." I thought about the faces in the haze. The Atlanteans watching from the ruins. The figure in the plaza that had looked at me with recognition. The keeper, somewhere deep below, holding his dying people together through sheer will. "I'm not reconsidering." Andros held my gaze for 3 long seconds, then nodded. "All right, let's get this done." The deep exploration sub was smaller than I'd imagined. Cramped. 2 seats, minimal equipment, reinforced viewport that was barely 2 feet across. It felt like climbing into a coffin. "Oxygen for 8 hours, Andros said, running through final checks. "Heating system for 6, backup batteries for 4. We install the dampener and surface immediately. No exploration, no delays." "Understood." He looked at me, really looked at me. "If something goes wrong down there, it won't. If it does," he continued, "you surface. Don't wait for me. Don't try to be a hero. You surface and you tell Castellanos everything we found. Clear?" I wanted to argue, but I saw Maria's compass clipped to his vest. Remembered what he'd said about Dive 9. "Clear." He sealed the hatch. The sub detached from the main vessel with a metallic clunk that echoed through the hull. Then we were free falling through dark water. "Passing 600 meters, Andros reported. The city ruins fell away above us. We descended past the perimeter, past the temple and plaza, into uncharted territory. The structures changed. Older, stranger, more intact. These buildings didn't look weathered by time, they looked preserved, deliberately maintained. Walls of stone that seemed to grow from the ocean floor organically. Domes that defied structural engineering. No visible supports, just smooth curves of material that shouldn't exist. 700 meters. The bioluminescence here was different. Deeper blue, almost purple. The light pulsed in synchronized patterns across multiple structures, like a citywide nervous system. 800 meters. My ears popped despite the pressure equalization. The viewport creaked slightly. Normal, I told myself. Just normal thermal contraction. Ahead, a tunnel entrance appeared, carved, no groan, from living rock. The opening was perfectly circular. Too perfect. That's our route, Andros said, according to the Institute's mapping. When was this sector last surveyed? 1987. 38 years ago, before I was born. We entered the tunnel. Immediately the light changed. The bioluminescence here formed patterns on the walls. Glyphs, thousands of them covering every surface. Pulsing in sequence like flowing script. I grabbed my depth log, tried to sketch what I was seeing. But there were too many, too fast. These aren't decorations, I said. They're warnings. Andros was silent for a moment. Then, or prayers? The tunnel descended at a steep angle, 900 meters, 950, 1,000. The walls narrowed, the sub's external sensors scraped against stone with sounds like fingernails on glass. Tight fit, Andros muttered. Hold on. We squeezed through a particularly narrow section. For a terrifying moment, I thought we were stuck. Then we popped through into open space. 1 in 100 meters, Andros said softly. We're here. The tunnel had opened into a massive chamber. But that's not what made my breath catch. The chamber had air. An intact pressure dome arced overhead, holding back millions of tons of water. And beneath it, atmosphere, breathable space in the deep ocean. That's not possible, I whispered. No, Andros agreed. It's not. He brought the sub up slowly. We broke the surface, an impossible surface, 100 meters below sea level, with a gentle splash. For a moment, we just sat there, staring. Then Andros cracked the hatch. The air that rushed in was cold, dry, tasted metallic, ancient, but it was air. We climbed out onto the sub's exterior platform, stood in the open, underwater, but breathing. The chamber was a throne room. Columns rose from a stone floor, each one carved with spiraling glyphs that still glowed faintly. The ceiling, the pressure dome, refracted light in impossible ways, creating aurora patterns that shifted and danced. And at the chamber's center, a throne, massive. Made from stone and coral fused together in ways that looked organic, adorned with what might have been gold, or something that resembled gold, woven through with bioluminescent filaments that pulsed like veins. On the throne sat the keeper. He was Atlantean, but different from the others we'd seen, larger, 9 feet tall at least, even seated. His body was ancient, skin like weathered parchment stretched over a frame that was too thin, too elongated. Coral had grown from his shoulders, his arms, forming something like armor or a second skeleton on the outside. But he was alive. His chest rose and fell, once every 30 seconds. Breath drawn so slowly it seemed impossible to sustain life, and his eyes were open. Not the void black of the other Atlanteans. These eyes were gold, flickering, aware. My God, I whispered. Around the throne, arranged in concentric circles, hundreds of Atlanteans, kneeling, heads bowed, perfectly still, in stasis, but not dead. I I could see the faint rise and fall of their chests, the slow pulse of bioluminescence beneath their skin. "This is their king," I said. The understanding hit me like cold water. He's keeping them alive. Andros had his hand on his sidearm. "Elena, look at them. They're connected to him. He's sustaining them somehow. As long as he lives, they don't fully die." The keeper's eyes moved, slowly, focused on me, and I felt the touch of his mind. It wasn't like the violent, psychic scream from before. This was gentle, invitation rather than invasion. Images flooded my consciousness, a city of light. Towers that scraped the sky, made from crystal and living stone. People walking streets. Not the pale, transformed creatures I'd seen, but humans. Beautiful, laughing, children playing in water gardens where fountains defied gravity. Music drifting from open windows, complex, harmonious, achingly beautiful. This was Atlantis, before. Then, darkness. Something rising from beneath the ocean floor, ancient, vast, not quite alive, not quite dead, a power that predated human civilization, that predated life itself. The Atlanteans discovered it while mining the deep ocean. Tried to harness it, use it, it changed them. Enhanced them at first, made them stronger, faster, more intelligent. Their technology leaped forward, centuries in a single generation. They could breathe underwater, see in darkness, communicate telepathically. They thought they'd transcended humanity, but the transformation didn't stop. Their bodies continued to change. Bones elongated, skin grew translucent. They began to lose their sense of self, individuality dissolving into a collective consciousness they couldn't control. The sky turned red. The land became unstable, earthquakes, tsunamis. The ancient power they'd tapped was tearing the world apart. The king, young then, newly crowned, made a choice. He led the survivors into the deep ocean, away from the source of corruption, built pressure domes using the last of their technology, sealed themselves away. "We'll slow the transformation," he told his people. "Buy time, find a cure, return to the surface when we're whole again." But centuries passed. The transformation continued, slower but inevitable. Their minds deteriorated, memory faded, culture dissolved. They forgot music, forgot laughter, forgot what it meant to be human, all except the king. He stayed conscious, aware, watching his people slowly lose themselves, unable to die while his people needed him, unable to save them, just enduring. Millennia of isolation, of watching, of hoping for a rescue that never came. Then, new sounds from above, ships, sonar, drilling. The surface world had forgotten them, but was unknowingly disturbing their rest. And recently, the earthquakes, the sanctuary cracking, the pressure domes failing, the Atlanteans waking into agony, the images shifted, showed me the dampeners. The resonance frequency that hurt them kept them in twilight sleep. But I understood now. Dormancy wasn't mercy. It was prolonging their suffering. The keeper showed me two paths. Install the third dampener. Keep them trapped in endless twilight, fading slowly over centuries until nothing remained but husks. Or leave. Let them wake fully. Let them escape to the surface where atmospheric pressure would kill them in minutes. They'd die, but they'd take surface dwellers with them, lashing out in their final moments of consciousness. "What do you want?" I asked aloud. My voice echoed in the chamber. "If you could choose, what would you want?" The keeper's response was immediate. One final image. The city in its glory, children laughing, his children. Then what they'd become, twisted, lost, suffering, A single word, not in language but in pure meaning. Rest. I stood there, the third dampener in my hands, heavy, cold. "We have orders," Andros said quietly. He wasn't wrong. "Install the dampeners. Contain the threat. Protect the surface world." But I kept seeing those children. The city of light. What these people had been before hubris and curiosity destroyed them. "Elena." Andros's voice was gentle. "We don't have a choice." "There's always a choice." The keeper's eyes held mine, and I felt his exhaustion. The weight of 3,000 years, holding his people together through sheer will, never resting, never letting go. Because if he did, they'd all die. He'd been waiting for someone to give him permission to let them go. I looked at the hundreds of Atlanteans kneeling around the throne, saw the faint tremors in their bodies. The pain held at bay only by the king's consciousness, linking them together. This wasn't life. It was purgatory. The keeper showed me one more memory. A water garden. Sunset light streaming through crystal walls. A child, his daughter, laughing as she learned to make the fountains dance. Then the same garden, overgrown, dark. The child grown into one of the pale figures we'd encountered. Eyes black voids, humanity gone. His daughter. And he'd had to watch her transform over centuries, unable to help, unable to let her rest. His final message was clear: let us rest. I moved to the installation point, a raised platform near the throne. My hands were shaking. "Elena," Andros said, not ordering, just acknowledging what I was about to do. I activated the third dampener. The resonance hummed to life, spread through the chamber. The keeper's eyes closed slowly. His chest rose one final time and exhaled. The breath seemed to go on forever, releasing millennia of burden in a single endless sigh. Then, stillness. The change began immediately. The Atlanteans started to crystallize. It was beautiful. Their translucent skin hardened, taking on the appearance of pearl, of opal, of mineral formations that caught light and split it into rainbows. The coral growing from their bodies fused with their flesh, creating sculptures that were part organism, part geology. They turned to stone, to reef, to something eternal in a different way, and their faces, as the transformation completed, looked peaceful. The king crystallized last. His body became a throne of living stone, coral and mineral and memory fused together. His expression, frozen forever, held something like relief. Around his neck I noticed something, a pendant. Gold filigree holding a crystal that still glowed faintly. I reached out, touched it. The crystal was warm, and I understood. This was their history, their memory, everything they'd been, preserved in crystalline form. I carefully removed the pendant, slipped it into my equipment pouch. "Elena, we need to go." Andros's voice was urgent. "The dome." I felt it then, vibration in the stone floor. The chamber's integrity was failing. Without the king's consciousness maintaining it, the pressure dome was collapsing. Water began to seep through cracks overhead, thin streams at first, then more. "Move!" Andros grabbed my arm. We ran for the sub, climbed in, sealed the hatch. Behind us, the throne room flooded, water pouring in through 100 fractures. But the crystallized Atlanteans remained unmoved, eternal now, at rest beneath the waves. We descended back into the tunnel as the chamber imploded behind us, stone grinding against stone. The sound of 3,000 years of history collapsing into silence, But we'd made it. We'd finished the mission. And I'd given them what they wanted most: peace. We broke the surface at Odro 6 were hours. Dawn was breaking over the Mediterranean, gold and rose light spilling across dark water. I'd forgotten the sun could be that bright. The main research vessel was waiting. Kira had radioed ahead. A medical team stood ready on deck as we docked. Jonas was already there, leg properly bandaged, color returning to his face. Maya sat wrapped in a thermal blanket, cup of coffee clutched in both hands. She looked up when she saw us. Something passed between us, understanding, maybe, or shared trauma. Status report. Castellanos' voice came through the deck speakers. She'd been monitoring from the command center. Andros climbed out of the sub first, helped me up. My legs were shaking. 8 hours of pressure and adrenaline finally catching up. All 3 dampeners installed and active, Andros reported. His voice was flat, professional. Mission successful. Silence on the other end. Then, resonance signatures? Kira checked her tablet. All 3 reading stable, output at expected levels. The frequency is it's working. Atlantis is quiet. Confirmed from our end, Castellanos said. Seismic sensors show no movement in the city. Bioluminescence patterns have returned to dormant baseline. Whatever was waking up down there has stopped. She paused. I could hear the relief in her voice. You did well. The containment will hold for decades, perhaps longer. Decades. I thought about the Keeper's final breath. The Atlanteans crystallizing into eternal rest. Peaceful. Finally free. And we'd call that containment. Dr. Voss? Castellanos' voice sharpened. Confirm mission parameters achieved. Confirmed, I said. The word tasted like ash. Excellent. Full debriefing at 1400 hours. Get some rest. You've earned it. The speaker clicked off. Around me, the team began to disperse. Jonas limped toward medical. Maya headed below deck, still clutching her coffee like a lifeline. Kira started post-dive equipment checks, always professional, even exhausted. Only Andros remained on deck with me. He was looking out at the water, at the place where it sucked 100 meters down. An ancient kingdom now slept forever. Captain, I said quietly, I need to... Write it down, he interrupted. Not looking at me. Everything while it's fresh. Before they tell you what to remember and what to forget. He walked away before I could respond. I didn't go to my quarters. Instead, I found a quiet corner of the observation deck, pulled out my depth log. The pages were damp, stained with salt water and my own blood from the psychic scream. I wrote everything. The descent through the tunnel, the impossible throne room, the Keeper's ancient eyes, the telepathic communion, and every image, every emotion, every terrible, beautiful memory of what Atlantis had been. I sketched the Keeper as I'd seen him, 9 feet tall, coral growing from his shoulders like a crown, gold eyes that held 3 millennia of sorrow. Then I wrote the true history, not the sanitized version the Institute would want. The real story: they didn't fall, they fled. They didn't attack us, they were afraid of us, and we didn't save them. We ended them. My hand was cramping. I kept writing. To whoever reads this, Atlantis was real, the people were real. They made mistakes, hubris, curiosity, the belief that they could control power they didn't understand. It cost them everything. But they were still people. They had children, families, music, gardens, love. Remember that, because the Institute will call them Category X Prime. anomalies, threats to be contained. But they were people once, and at the end, all they wanted was rest. I added one final sketch, the Keeper's pendant, the crystal that held their memories. I'd slipped it into my pocket before we fled. Evidence, proof, or maybe just remembrance? I was still writing when footsteps approached. "Thought I might find you here," Andros said. I didn't look up. Couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He leaned against the railing beside me. We stood in silence for a moment, watching the sun climb higher. Finally, he spoke. "You did the right thing." "Did I?" The words came out sharper than I intended. "We killed them, Andros. That entire civilization, gone because we followed orders." "We let them rest," he corrected quietly. "There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes." He turned to face me. His expression was serious but not unkind. "They were suffering, Elena, for 3,000 years. The king showed you that. He asked you to end it. He shouldn't have had to ask. We should have..." I stopped. "What? What should we have done?" Andros seemed to read my thoughts. There was no good answer. Leave them dormant and suffering, or let them wake and kill themselves trying to reach a surface world that doesn't want them. Those were the only choices. So we chose for them. No, the king chose. You just honored his choice. I looked down at my depth log, at the sketches of faces that would never breathe again. "This job," Andros continued, his voice softer now, "it's full of choices like that. No right answers, no wrong answers, just consequences we have to live with." "How do you live with it?" I asked. "After Maria, after 14 dives, after all the things you've seen down there, how do you keep going?" He was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the water. "I remember why we do it," he said finally. "We're the line between two worlds, the deep and the surface. We keep them separate so both can survive. It's not pretty, it's not fair, but it's necessary." "That's not an answer." "No," he agreed, "but it's what I tell myself at night. And some nights, it's enough." He reached into his jacket, pulled out something small. Maria's compass. The brass caught the morning light. The engraving was still visible. MK, true north. "I can't take that," I said. "She was your... she'd want you to have it." Andros pressed it into my hand, closed my fingers around it. Maria believed in this work, believed it mattered, even when it cost her everything. His voice roughened slightly. "You remind me of her. Not just the stubbornness, though that too, but the way you see them, the way you see past the horror to the humanity underneath." "I'm not. You are." He stepped back. "You're a ranger now, Elena, whether you want the title or not. You've seen what's down there. You've made the hard choice, and you're going to have to make it again and again, because that's what we do." He nodded toward my depth log. "Keep writing, keep remembering, because someone has to." Then he turned and walked away. I stood there alone as the sun climbed higher, held the compass in one hand, my log in the other. North, the compass needle pointed, always north, but when I held it level, the needle dipped. Down, toward the water, toward the abyss. I thought about what Andros had said, about the Keeper's final message, about the crystallized kingdom sleeping below, and I knew. This wasn't over. Atlantis might be at rest, but there were other ruins, other depths, other secrets the ocean was hiding. The Hadal Zone, Andros had mentioned once, below 6,000 meters, where light couldn't reach, where pressure could crush submarines like tin cans. The Institute had a facility there. And somewhere in those depths, something else was waiting. That night, I made my final entry in the depth log. Entry 7. Final report mission complete. 3 dampeners installed, Atlantis contained. But I met their king today, looked into his eyes, saw what they were before hubris destroyed them. They were explorers, innovators. They pushed boundaries, discovered power beyond their understanding, and paid the ultimate price. We like to think we're different, smarter, more careful, but we're not. The Thalassa Institute studies anomalies because we're terrified of them, of what they represent, of the possibility that we're not the first civilization to reach for the stars and fall. I found Atlantis. It was beautiful, it was tragic, and now it's sleeping beneath the drowned sky. But I know the truth. Nothing sleeps forever. The ocean is old and patient and full of secrets. Some secrets should stay buried, but I'll keep watching because someone has to. I paused, then added, P.S. If you're reading this log, you're either part of the Institute or you've stumbled onto something you shouldn't know. If it's the former, the ocean has eyes, and it's watching back. If it's the latter, close this book, walk away, forget what you've read. Because once you know what's down there, you can't unknow it. The deep calls to the deep. And eventually you'll have to answer. Dive safe. Stay shallow. And if you hear singing at 400 meters, surface. Immediately. Dr. Elena Voss, Depth Log. Entry 7 signing off. I closed the log, ran my hand over the water-stained cover. Tomorrow Castellanos would want a formal debriefing. They'd classify everything, redact details, turn a tragedy into a mission report. But tonight, the truth existed here, in these pages. In my words, I looked out at the dark water one last time. Somewhere below, the keeper sat on his throne of stone and coral, his people kneeling around him, all of them crystallized, all of them finally at peace. I touched the pendant hidden in my pocket, felt the crystal's faint warmth. Their memory would survive, even if only here, even if only with me. Rest well, I whispered to the darkness, to the depths, to the lost kingdom beneath the waves. The water was calm, silent, but I knew, deep down where instinct lives, that silence wouldn't last forever. The ocean kept its secrets until it didn't. And when it was ready to speak again, we'd be listening. Andros told me about something called the huddle zone, below 6,000 meters, where even light from bioluminescence can't penetrate. Where pressure turns water almost solid. The Institute has another facility there, Research Station Orpheus. He didn't say what they study, but the way he said the name, there's something down there. Something that makes Atlantis look like a fairy tale. And somehow I know I'm going to find out what it is. Because the compass keeps pointing down. And I've never been good at ignoring curiosity. Maybe that's what destroyed the Atlanteans. Maybe that's what will destroy us too. But I can't stop now. The abyss is calling, and God help me. I want to answer.